Please subscribe to our channel by pressing the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive updates on new videos.
Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swamini Tapaharini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayati Girim Yat Krupa Tamaham Vande Brahmananda Madhavam. So, as discussed in the last class, non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. This is the chapter we are going to study today. Complete self-abnegation or self-effacement. Self here doesn't mean the soul or Atman or consciousness. Self here means the lower self, the ego, anatta. In Pali language, the word used is anatta. We consider Buddha as an agnostic, but in fact Buddha was not an agnostic. Buddha as an atheist, but he was not an atheist. Because he did not speak about God, people consider him an atheist. He was not an atheist. We say in our Sanatana Dharma that God is beyond thought, He is beyond words. So, Buddha actually stuck to that position. When you say that the Lord is beyond thought, then why do you try to express Him or describe Him in words? Your words will fall short always. You will never be able to comprehend through your mind. Then don't make the attempt. So what you need to do is you need to remove the ignorance. Then you remain as God. You experience God and you become God. You become one with God. And there are no two entities, you and God. When you remove the ajnana or ignorance, and there won't remain two entities like you and God, myself and God. You just exist as the divine entity. So God is not separate from us. This little ego sense actually is separating us from our real existence. Just as a cloud covers the sun, though it's not real, but apparently it covers. When the cloud covers, what happens? You don't see the light. But once the cloud is dispersed, you can see the brightness of the sun again. Can the cloud really cover the sun? No. But for the time being, you experience darkness, so the cloud does cover the sun. It doesn't affect the sun's light in any way. The same way, mind cannot affect the real light, that is Atman, but it can block the expression of the Atman, or it can block the radiance of the Atman for the time being, as it were. So here, complete self-abnegation means the lower self, which is the ego sense. That is the aim of all the yogas, in fact. Whether it is Karma Yoga, or Jnana Yoga, or Raja Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. Why should we practice this yoga? Any of these yogas, they help us to remove this cover of darkness, the cover of ignorance. Once the cover is removed, the light shines in its own resplendent glory. A small lamp is there. You just put a paper around the glass, a black paper, the light cannot come out of it. Okay, you remove the paper, again the light shines in its own way. So in the same way, this ego sense actually has covered this, the infinite Atman, this small, little, insignificant, fictitious, unreal ego sense has covered such an infinite reality. It's very strange, very surprising. So only when you experience the truth, then you understand that it has not really covered it, Apparently it has covered it. So only after experience you know this, not before. Now actually we are into the delusion that I am only this little body and this little mind. And behind this little body and mind lies my infinite and immortal dimension. We are using this word infinite too frequently in our culture, so we don't think what exactly the infinite is. So as we can't comprehend the infinite and you are using the word too frequently, so we don't know the distinction between the finite and the infinite much. The present existence is so insignificant compared to our true existence. There is no difference, no comparison can be had between these two. And so it's an error. According to Vedanta, our identification with the limited body and the limited mind is an error that has happened, and we need to correct this error, that's all. Then we get to our truth, the reality. So Swamiji is talking about in this chapter about the influence of thought. We all have studied that when we perform an action, there will be some reaction, there will be some result, there will be some fruit, positive or negative. If our action is positive, the result will be positive. If our action is negative, the result will be negative. So action follows the result. Fruit will come, fruit must come. Good action, good fruit, bad action, bad fruit. At the same time, when we perform an action or when we generate thought, we influence others also, we affect others also. It is possible. For example, when you just see sometimes in society we see a good many examples. Those who are habituated to do evil, whatever you may tell them, they keep on doing evil actions only. And those who are doing good actions, they keep on doing good actions in spite of any number of obstacles. That has become a kind of a second nature. So intensification of the negative and intensification of the positive, both we see. You just ask that people who are engaged in evil action, desist from that action, it's not good. But they will not desist. They keep on doing the evil again and again. That has become a kind of second nature with them. So you can't explain this tendency, Swamiji says, unless you understand that not only that your thought affects you, the thought of others also affects you. What way? How? Swamiji is giving here the example of instruments, different instruments tuned in the same way. There are different instruments, many veenas are there, for example, in a room, all actually tuned in the same way. So if you touch one note of one veena, and actually the effect will be upon all other veenas also. So they all also make sound. So it's possible because they are all tuned in the same way. Similarly, when you generate a negative thought or evil thought, a wicked thought, what happens? You have brought your mind to a certain frequency, certain vibration. So all the negative thoughts that are there in the universe, in the cosmos, in the atmosphere around you, will try to rush into your mind, will try to penetrate into your mind, because you have brought your mind to certain frequency that other thoughts that are there in the cosmos, which are of the same frequency, will try to enter into your mind. And you are prone to the outside influence. So not only the thought that I am generating from within actually is impacting me, because I have brought my mind to a certain kind of frequencies, to certain tension, and thoughts which are of same tension that are there in the atmosphere will influence me, will try to enter into me. That's how actually the evil gets reinforced. It is reinvigorated. So it is strengthened. The evil thought actually is strengthened further. So Karma Yoga deals with this science also. Similarly, if you generate a good thought, that means what? You have brought your mind to a certain frequency, to a certain tension, to a certain vibration. And all the thoughts which match with the vibration of your mind now, they will rush into your mind to strengthen this thought, to reinforce this thought through this good thought. They're all there, good and bad thoughts both are there in the atmosphere around. So if you generate negative thoughts, now you run twofold risk. First, you become susceptible to the negative thoughts that are there in the environs, and also you impact others in a negative way. Not only the thought that you have generated will impact you, it impacts others also. With others, if they bring themselves to the same frequency, and your thought actually will go and impact them, just as we are likely to be influenced by others' thoughts, and our thoughts actually will influence them also. The thought is indestructible, good or bad. So it's very important that we become conscious of the thoughts that we are generating in our mind. Most of the people, they don't know this. The thought is indestructible. Swami is giving here the example of light. A light actually travels for millions of years till it finds its object. So now what is happening? The light is falling on me because light rays are falling on me. Because I am there as object for the light, actually you see me now. I am stopping the light. That's why actually I am able to see you. So there is no object here to stop the light. It travels for millions of years till it finds its object. Then only you can see the light. Without the object, you can't see the light. The same way, the thoughts also once generated, they can't die. You can't kill them. The thought is indestructible in that way. The thought actually permeates the environs and it lies there till it finds the object. The thought that you have generated today may not impact the persons immediately next to you today. And it will be there in the cosmos. Maybe after 100 years, maybe after 200 years, some individual who has brought himself or herself to the level of vibration at which actually you have generated this thought, and this thought will enter into that individual and finds expression, tries to manifest through him. Elsewhere, Swami said, the greatest of the men are calm, silent, and unknown. So they don't come in the midst of the society to do work. They act at a subtle plane. To serve mankind, to help people, I don't have to be in the midst of the people. I may sit in a cave and I generate some good thoughts, positive thoughts constantly. And those thoughts will impact the people. Maybe they are living miles away from the place where I generated thoughts, but the thought is indestructible. And it will go and manifest through them. Swami says, we say Mahavir, we say is the 24th Tirthankara. Before him actually 23 Tirthankaras were there. This 24th Mahavir actually, he had just become an instrument, a tool for the expression of the thought of the 23 Tirthankaras who lived before him. These 23 Tirthankaras were the real salt of the earth actually. They had generated the noblest and greatest of the thought. They never came out, but all their thoughts actually found expression in this 24th Tirthankara. So all the Sattvic people, so they don't want to be in the midst, because actually we are going to study actually. There is nothing like absolutely good action, there is nothing like absolutely evil action. Vivekananda, he had gone with the noblest of the intention to the West. For what? To spread the message of Vedanta there, to help mankind. He had absolutely no selfish interest. But still, such a noble work that he did attracted the jealousy of others. They tormented him, they troubled him. So there's nothing like an absolutely good action. So the same good action of which Vivekananda performed generated evil in others, because a few people felt jealous of him. They tried to disparage him. They tried to assassinate his character. Character assassination also they resorted to. Indians also, Pandit Ramabai Sarkis and Majumdar. Majumdar was his childhood friend. They both used to go to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The same person, when he had gone to America, unable to bear the name and fame that Vivekananda had got, he felt jealous of him and he started spreading lies against Swamiji. So he was doing the noblest of the action, but at the same time, that action also provoked the negative side in individuals. So you can't say that absolutely good action, absolutely positive action. Again, there is nothing like absolutely evil action. An action which is totally evil. Some good will happen. Whatever may be the nature of the evil action, some good will happen somewhere. So these are two inseparable. You can't draw a line and say that this is absolutely good action and this is absolutely evil action. Okay? So, then what we have to do then? That means action is only means to an end. Because by nature it's a mixture of evil and good. There is no action which is absolutely good. There is no action which is absolutely evil. Action is only a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. It is just to purify the antahkarana. For this reason, the Sattvic people, they don't want to be in the midst of the society. Okay, I don't have any desire to acquire name and fame. Okay, I have become a great exponent. I have become a great orator. So other people who want to become orators, okay, they might feel jealous of me. So my action actually, I don't mean anything, negative by way of my doing action, but this positive action might generate some negative feeling in somebody else. So the action is always a mixture of good and bad. There is no way you can have absolutely good action or absolutely evil action. So then, why should we do work? Why should we engage in doing good actions? The relatively it's good is relatively bad. That which is relatively bad we call as evil. That which is relatively good we call as good. That's all. So by constantly engaging in good action, we will attain self-effacement or this self-abnegation. The purpose of Karma Yoga is to help individual to attenuate his lower self. As we have discussed, this lower self actually is blocking the expression of the divine in us. So once you obliterate this lower self, the divine in us actually finds full expression. To achieve this end, Karma Yoga is one of the best means. Jnana Yoga and Raja Yoga and Bhakti Yoga also have the same aim. Jnana Yoga, the individual who is following this yoga, he employs the technique of neti neti, na iti na iti. So by denying the lower constantly, I am not the body, I am not the mind, what he is trying to do? He is trying to assert his real nature. By denying the lower, the higher will automatically manifest. A Bhakti yogi is also trying to do the same thing, complete self-abnegation. How he tries to? Because he has a chosen deity, he has Ishtadaivam. And every action that he performs, he surrenders to that Ishtadaivam or chosen deity. Not because of my will, because of the will of my Lord. Everything in my life has happened by the will of my Lord, and everything in future also will happen by the will of my Lord. So there is no I as such. There is no ego sense in that individual because he has surrendered completely at the feet of his chosen deity. So the goal of all the yogas is to attain to this self-abnegation. Complete self-effacement, no lower ego sense. So to become free. So in Karma Yoga, by engaging in good action, we try to achieve that. It's not to help the world as such, we have already discussed that. It is to help ourselves only by trying to do good others, by trying to do good to others, by engaging in good actions. The lower I will get flattened. It will get obliterated. It will get annihilated. So for this reason, all the prophets, all the sages ask us to engage in selfless service. To attain this selflessness or self-abnegation is the goal of life. What will I gain by attaining this self-abnegation? You will attain your immortal nature. You will become one with the Maker, your Maker. It's not an ordinary possibility. You will become immortal. You will become eternally happy and eternally peaceful. So, we are always thinking, that we have been thinking and we have been striving ever since the advent of humanity on the planet Earth. Constantly, we have been striving and striving and striving. For what? To create a world where every human being can be happy forever. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yeah. What is the purpose of all the technological innovations, all the science that we have developed? It all has only one aim and one objective. That is to make man happy forever. To make man happy forever. That is the objective. We are trying to manipulate the external world and the universe as best as we could. We have been striving and striving. Have we achieved that? No. We have not achieved it yet. But we are hopeful, right? Tomorrow it will happen. You are also struggling, you are leading an agitation. So, we want to create a perfect world. When will that perfection will come? Will that come ever? Our philosophy says no. Okay? The world can never be perfect because there is nothing like perfect life. Perfect life is a contradiction in terms. When you say life, you are also saying, you are uttering only the word life outwardly, but you are also saying death. Only when death is there, life has meaning and significance. Only when darkness is there, light assumes significance. If there is no darkness, actually you can't call it light. Only when there is cold is there, then you call it heat. Okay, there are all pairs of opposites. The whole universe, the relative world, we have to talk only in terms of pairs of opposites. Pain and pleasure. There is pain, there is also pleasure. When you talk about pleasure, you are also talking about pain. Because there is pain, you are talking about pleasure. If there is no pain, you don't have to talk about pleasure. It is just that. So everything that is there in this world is a pair of opposites. There cannot be anything like perfect life. Life implies death. Death implies life. There is something beyond these two. That is actually the truth. That is actually the truth. You just see the world, what is life? Life is a constant struggle, right? For example, our body is there. There is a constant battle going on. The WBC in you, white blood corpuscles in you, are constantly striving to keep off bacteria, microbes. Microbes are constantly trying to invade you, to invade us, right? Microbes, bacteria are always there. They're constantly trying to invade us. And our WBC actually is constantly trying to keep them off. The battle is going on constantly. So for food, actually, we are actually struggling with the external forces, maybe with fellow human beings and the physical universe. This constant struggle we call life. Life is not actually a smooth procession. Okay, it's a constant struggle. Struggle between the inner nature, internal world, and the external world. How can there be peace in struggle? How can there be perfection in struggle? Only when the struggle ceases, there can be peace and perfection. When the struggle ceases, because life is struggle, life also ceases. Okay? So, perfect life is a contradiction in terms. If anybody says that complete life, perfect life, but we are all, okay, if you look at the world, we have been striving constantly to create a perfect world order. We are hopeful of that, achieving that. But we are thinking that human beings are imperfect, human beings are selfish. So human beings are subverting this. All are not good human beings. That's the reason the world is the way it is. There will come a time when all noble and good human beings only will live in the world. Then that is the perfect world order. Then the perfect world. Human being may be a good human being. Okay? But as long as you are constituted the way you are, that is a physical body and mind, there cannot be perfection. Physical body means constantly changing. Entity, what is constantly changing? You have no problem with the world, no problem with the people, but then you will have a problem with yourself because you have identified with the body, but that body is constantly changing. It's becoming growing older and older, and then afterwards it will die one day. So death is not a comfortable experience. It's a painful experience. Old age is a painful experience. No suffering from outside us. Nobody actually inflicting pain upon you through their actions or through their words, but pain comes from within. Okay, pain is also not coming within. But if you identify with the body, pain invariably comes to you because body is subjected to disease and body is subjected to death. So there is no way, even if there is no suffering inflicted upon you by the external agencies, either human beings or non-living entities, there is no way you can lead a peaceful and complete life here. Life itself means death. So there is no perfect life thing. Then what we have to do? Why should we strive to do good action? That which is beyond life and death is the reality. So to go beyond life and death, you have to attenuate this lower self. This identification with the body, identification with the limited is responsible for the samsara. Our rishis have discovered this. This identification with the limited actually is the samsara. This is responsible for all our misery. And so they have told us, get rid of this identification. And then you become immortal. You go beyond life and death. You go beyond good and bad. In the last class we discussed. Bad we try to overcome through good actions. And afterwards you give up the good also. Because truth lies beyond good and bad. So life is a constant struggle. And as long as there is struggle, there cannot be peace. Because struggle and peace, they go ill together. So the struggle must cease. That means life must cease. Life must cease means not committing suicide. Okay? Attenuating the lower self. Once you attenuate the lower self, you attain to the consciousness. Consciousness is beyond life and death. It's not a compound. It's not made up of something. It is not subjected to time. It's beyond space. That is our infinite nature, the real nature. And in that nature, there is equilibrium. There is perfect order there. That is perfection. That is completeness. That is total fulfillment. So in the relative world, there is no way you can have complete life. You can have perfect life. So there is nothing like perfect life, but we are all striving and we are hopeful of that. Our rishis have found that it's not possible. It's a contradiction in terms. So good and evil are obverse and reverse of the same coin. They are not two separate entities that you can kill the evil completely and you can have only good in this world. Because they are obverse and reverse of the same coin. You cannot separate them. They belong to the same spectrum. One side you are calling as evil and the other side actually you call it as good. So they ask us to transcend the relative, that is the goal and that is the objective. In Karma Yoga, we strive to attain this through selfless service. What happens if you do selfless service? Constantly you are thinking about others' welfare. How can I make others happy? How can I give happiness to others? You are not interested in your own individual happiness. You are moved, you are touched deeply by the suffering of others. Day and night you think about others' suffering and you will strive to alleviate their suffering. And by constantly thinking about others' welfare and others' suffering and engaging yourself in actions that alleviate the suffering of others, you forget the little self. You become the infinite. Once you let go your identification with the body and mind, then you have touched the infinite dimension of your being. That is actually the reward that you get. But your striving should be so complete. There should not be any trace of selfishness in your being, for name and fame's sake, or for getting recognized by others, or for any other selfish motive. No other selfish motive should be with you. You just are moved by the suffering of others and they work for the sake of work. When you can do action with this kind of spirit, and you will be able to attenuate the low self, because you have completely forgotten yourself. And once you forget yourself, you are in nirvana. You are in bliss. Any that kind of absorption action, for example, even in a simple act like reading, you are 100% absorbed in your reading. What happens? You become oblivious of the surroundings. You can't hear anything outside because you're totally involved. Okay? A mosquito actually has alighted on you and started sucking your blood, but you are so deeply involved in your reading. You are not aware of the suffering inflicted by the mosquito, yes or no? Mosquito is there, comfortably it sat on your body and is sucking your blood. It's giving you pain there, but you don't notice the pain because it's totally involved in your reading. That means you have forgotten the body. You have forgotten the body because there is no I. Mind is totally absorbed in the action that it was doing. So once you achieve this self-forgetfulness, as you are not identified with the body, anything that affects the body will not affect you because you have transcended the body and you have transcended the mind. So once you touch the spirit, then only you understand that the relative world, as Swamiji says, it's only there, the prakriti or the nature is there to educate the soul, to educate our being. We come into the school of this world, we learn our lessons, and then we close the book. We close the book of this world. We don't need the world anymore. We have attained perfection. So there is no rebirth, there is no coming back to the world because you have learned all your lessons. That is self-realization. So that is the goal. As Swamiji says that this world is only a way station, it's not a destination. Be a sojourner, be a traveler. But you have forgotten that we are just travelers here. We have made this a destination. This is not destination. We are all just travelers. Today we are there, tomorrow we are not there. So between life and death, what is the greatest thing to do? Selfless service. Try to be as selfless as possible. If you attain immortality in this birth itself, there is no rebirth. When there is no rebirth, there is no struggle. When there is no life, there is no struggle, right? But only when there is body, there is life. There is life and then there is struggle. So you have put a full stop to the struggle once for all. You have attained to that divine nature of your being, which is tranquility and peace, absolute. We also experience some peaceful moments in our lives, but they are relative. For a few hours, a few days, we experience the peace and afterwards our peace gets disturbed. Various causes. There are so many things. Nobody can live, with great peace or 100% peace, absolute peace here. There is no way. As long as you have mind, as long as you are in prakriti, you have to experience both pain and pleasure. So Rishis have thought on this and the real nature of human being. And is there a way we can put full stop to all kinds of suffering? Is there a way? And then they have analyzed, they have invested so much of time and they have found out the root cause actually is prakriti, that is mind, and you need to transcend mind. And that mind actually is made up of this ego sense, and to let go that ego and selfless service or karma yoga is one of the best means. They ask us, whenever you are engaged in action, be unattached, be selfless, don't expect anything in return, work for the sake of work, and work in freedom and work in love. So that's how actually slowly we will be able to attain to our immortal being or immortal dimension. So Swamiji actually is saying here, who are the people who have attained self-abnegation? So there are 4 kinds of people in this world. The people who are God-like, who have attained to this complete self-abnegation, complete self-effacement. They don't care for their individual welfare or comfort. They are ready to make sacrifice. They are ready to sacrifice their lives for the sake of others. No sacrifice is too great for them in providing some succor and solace to others. They are actually godlike men, exceptional men. Their sacrifice is near total. We have great examples in our Puranas, in our epics, like Dadichi, Shiva Chakravarti, Jimuta Vahana, Rantideva. The people who had attained the complete sense of self-sacrifice. The second category is that. So, they do good, but they expect something in return. They do good to the society, but some name and fame, some desire. It's good anyway. The desire is there, but some good happened to the society also. The third category is there. So they don't mind harming others to make themselves happy. This is the third category. So they inflict pain upon others sometimes, but they want to grow at the other's expense because they want to make themselves happy. And the fourth is there. Okay, they hurt others for the sake of hurting, that's all. Neither they get anything by hurting others, but still they keep hurting others. The lowest category. Brute-like human beings, they are there. For no reason they inflict pain upon others. They also don't gain anything there. So by inflicting pain upon others, if you get something, some happiness is okay. But you also don't get anything, but you just inflict pain upon others for the sake of pain. It's kind of sadism, you can say. The worst kind of human beings. The noblest are they who are ready to sacrifice their lives for the sake of others. And the lowest are they who are brute-like, who inflict pain upon others, not knowing the consequences of it, just for the sake of inflicting pain. So these four kinds of men we see in society. So all this, as our last class we discussed, there is a brute man and Buddha man. The spectrum is too wide, from brute man to Buddha man. The other end actually has a Buddha man. This end actually has a brute man. So evolution actually is to help this brute man to evolve into Buddha man. So all this practice of yoga, all this spirituality is only to help man sublimate that animal in him or her and to help the individual to grow into a divine entity. So the struggle is always the internal. The external actually is very little struggle, to be frank. But today we have made the external struggle. Struggle only for the physical possessions. Whole life is only for that. So we don't pay much attention to this being, how to transform ourselves into a beautiful human being. That is not the actual aim or objective of many people. Very few people have got this kind of aim and objective. Today I am like this, tomorrow I will try to be a little better. In terms of character, in terms of goodness, I have some goodness in me, I will increase that. I will increase that further and further. I will work upon myself. That working upon oneself actually will bring the highest results. So the refinement of the individual, you need to make yourself into more sophisticated, more refined, more civilized, and more regenerate human being. That should be our goal. And effort actually should be directed in this way, but it's not happening much because we are always preoccupied with the external world too much. We have discussed here in these lectures that we are always busy and we want only to become a celebrity in the eyes of our fellow human beings. We want to get recognition from our fellow human beings. We don't want to be recognized by God. We want our fellow human beings, fellow mortals to feel jealous of us by achieving something. You want to show that I have attained this, you see. But there is a way you can make even gods feel jealous of you. The gods, they won't feel jealous of you if you have properties, if you have power. They don't care for that. But if you have truthfulness with you, if your heart is full of kindness and compassion, okay, if you are selfless, and if you help others, if you make others actually joyful, if you give joy to others through your actions, then they feel jealous of you because they are all divine virtues. These virtues take you towards the truth. And gods will feel jealous of you if you become truthful. Your fellow human beings, definitely they won't feel jealous of you for this reason. And also the people may not even encourage actually to be truthful. Then you will not survive in this world, they say. In this world, to survive, you need to be cunning, you need to be diplomatic. They are all being taught today. Okay? You need to be smart. To be smart actually is making you have to combine all these qualities in you manifest. No. That has never been thought and should not be thought. Try to become a noble human being. If you are noble already, try to become nobler. Okay? Constantly turn your attention upon yourself. So you will become a really very important person in the eyes of the Lord. When you have these virtues, all gods will like you, angels will like you. And that, of course, you will have the grace of the Almighty Lord also. So we have talked about this pravritti and nivritti also here. There are two kinds of forces actually. One is pravritti and another is nivritti. So pravritti actually is going into the world and nivritti is going away from the world. World actually by nature entangling. How people have found it out, how rishis have found it. The world has the tendency to entangle you. Action has the tendency to entangle you. The whole world actually they have dismissed this as Maya. But man, be careful when you touch it. It's a mixture of both good and evil. It's a mixture of pain and pleasure. You can't just have pleasure to the exclusion of pain here. So try to have as minimum interaction as possible with this external world. And so keep your wants minimum so that it's easy for you to come closer to the truth. But if you multiply your wants and you think that the physical world alone is the world, and if you think that sensory experience is the only experience that is possible to you, and then you put your soul into the things external, then you will get lost, they said. You will not be able to extricate yourself that easily from this mess. The world is like that. So they had that acumen, intellectual acumen, and that sagacity to understand the real nature of the world, and so they would ask us to turn inward. That is nivritti. Nivritti makes us stronger. Nivritti helps us understand ourselves. Nivritti helps us to understand from where the pain is coming. It is coming from mind. Pleasure from where it is coming? From mind. Then what is mind? The question arises. It's based on ego sense. What happens if I drop the ego sense? You will attain superconsciousness. You will attain your immortal nature. You will attain the absolute, the highest possibility. You will become one with the creator of the universe. Is it a small possibility? You all can explore that. So to explore that, to attain that superconsciousness, all these four yogas, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga, are equally valid paths. So Karma Yoga, anyway we have to do action, as Swamiji says. There is no way any human being can get out of the karma, can get out of this work. So have the secret of work, know the art of work, and engage in yourself in work. So the work doesn't entangle you. The work that you perform itself will take you towards liberation. So how to perform work, as we have discussed here in these chapters, through detachment. And all work actually is by nature, is a mixture of good and evil. Good action also has some evil, but it should not desist you from engaging in good actions. You must do good as much as you can, though there is some evil associated with it all the time. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadoshamappi natyajet sarvarambahi doshena. So dhumena agniriva avrutaha. So there is no way in this world you can create an absolutely good action. So Krishna says to Arjuna, so action is always a mixture of good and evil, but you have to engage in good action, because through good action only you overcome the bad, and ultimately you attain to spiritual realization. So now something about the teachings and of Swami Brahmananda Maharaj. Today we are celebrating the birthday of Brahmananda Maharaj, one of the 16 monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He is considered as the Manasaputra of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, spiritual child of Sri Ramakrishna, a spiritual luminary, first president of this order. So what Maharaj said about Karma Yoga, he said, it's not easy to do Karma Yoga. Only when you are a meditative person, you will be able to do Karma Yoga. Because individuals who have engaged themselves constantly in work will not be able to see the motive that is actually propelling them to work. So in order to see the motive of your action, whether you are really detached, whether you are not expecting any fruits of action, then you need to be a contemplative man. So he would advise us, 75% of your mind you fill up with God, and with 25% of mind actually you engage in action. So without contemplation, if you just engage yourself in action and saying that I work all the time, okay, you may be working, but at the same time you have some subtle hankerings. Okay, that work actually will entangle you for sure. Because he has seen the organization. Sometimes when the quarrels happen, the difference of opinion will be there, constantly engaged. Your opinion versus my opinion, then there will be friction, there will be quarrels, there will be dissensions. He has seen all this. And then he said why this is happening, because the contemplative dimension is missing. And the individual doesn't even know actually what is the motive that is actuating him into that particular action. So it's very important that if you really want to become a karma yogi, and you have this meditative dimension also, only an individual who can contemplate can do action well. And somebody actually who is restless, actually who cannot turn inward, who cannot sit with himself, cannot be a karma yogi by no means. Cannot be a karma yogi. And there are a good number of people today, they say that work itself is worship for me. He doesn't sit with himself even for 15-20 minutes, and he says work itself is worship. Because you are so rajasic, you can't help, you can't sit with yourself, you can't turn your attention in, and you engage yourself in action, and you think actually you are a karma yogi. It's not easy to become a karma yogi. You are doing karma only. You have some motive. Okay, you are expecting something in return. Maybe it's the name of fame, Desire for name and fame is there, very much it is there. Sometimes we don't see, but the people outside can easily understand and discern and say that actually this is the motive that is propelling you into action. But we don't understand that. The individual doesn't understand it for himself. This is very important. Brahmananda Maharaj, he himself was a man of contemplation. At the same time, did tremendous work as the president of the organization, first president of the organization. So Maharaj actually would put the new novices to test. So how they are meditating, what is the quality of their meditation? To know that, one day he had asked them actually to cut vegetables, to peel potato. So all the potatoes were brought to him. Then he went on checking the potato. So one potato, he has seen it, and this is perfectly peeled. Who is the man who did this? Then he was Swami Shitikantanandaji, one of the disciples of Swami Vivekananda. He did a perfect job peeling of potato, okay? Every day they would sit in meditation. After seeing the potato, this man actually meditates well. And in fact, it was the truth. The Shitikantanandaji, when he would meditate, that's all. So somebody who meditates well can do work well. Okay? If you are restless, actually no real efficiency comes into the work. So he would just, by testing the potato, by seeing the potato, this individual does. In fact, the Shitikantanandaji later became the general secretary of the Ramakrishna Sangha and one of the most successful general secretaries. And he has translated some of the teachings of Vivekananda from Bengali into English. And they are just there in complete works. You can't make out. It's just like Swamiji's language. He has done the translation, a perfect translation. Vivekananda's language, whatever he spoke in English, and this English also just looks like that. Absolutely. It doesn't even taste like, translation. Such a perfect job he did, particularly Swami Sishya Samvada, the conversations of Vivekananda. Most of the conversations he had done in Bengali language, they all were translated into English, and this Swami Shitikantanandaji did it because he was a man of meditation and did tremendous work, silent work he did. Work with great efficiency. Efficiency in work comes only when you meditate well. That means you have the control over your inner forces. Then only you will be able to do work well. So Brahmananda Maharaj used to receive many devotees and disciples. And then he would go to Bhuvaneshwar. He actually started the Bhuvaneshwar center. This year they are celebrating. Today they are celebrating the centenary of Bhuvaneshwar Math, founded by Swami Brahmanandaji. He founded it 1919, I think 31st October. The Bhuvaneshwar Center was inaugurated, and this year they are celebrating the centenary. Bodha Mayanji has gone there. Today only they are celebrating Brahmananda Maharaj's birthday. They found the place very quiet and very peaceful, and for people who would come in future, it would be best place for meditation, thinking that he had acquired a small piece of land and erected temple and other buildings there, and now it's one of the flourishing centers of Ramakrishna order. One Atal Bihari Maitra, he was actually the magistrate of that Puri. So he told one day to Rakal Maharaj, Swami Brahmanandaji, so what kind of monks you are actually, you don't have any supernatural powers, you don't perform any miracles. So most of the people when they say sadhu, Swami, Swami has some certain powers, miraculous powers. He can read others' minds, okay? He can cure diseases. He has to have some extra, something which common man or ordinary man cannot do. So they want us actually to play the role of a parapsychologist, most of the people. And then he said this to Brahmanandaji, you monks have no powers, actually supernatural powers, what kind of monks you are? Then Brahmanandaji taught it and he said, it is easy to acquire supernatural powers, but it's more difficult to acquire purity of the mind. It is more difficult to acquire the purity of mind. And also, it's very important, once you gain powers, if you don't have sufficient strength, you will have the temptation to use those powers upon others. And then your spiritual downfall will happen. In no time it will happen. Mind is not a simple thing. Once actually it understands that it has a psychic power, you keep on using it as off and on, and that will actually throw you out of the spiritual path in no time, unless you have the greatest strength. Okay, Buddha also would not actually advocate this exhibition of powers by any of these monks, because after 2 years of meditation they would acquire some psychic powers, but it never allowed those monks to exercise those psychic powers as showing miracles, curing diseases and all sorts of things. He would never allow. So all great and truly spiritual people, though they would get all these psychic powers, they would never exercise them. They exercise greatest restraint and caution. So he did perform some miracles, a different way. Swami Brahmanandaji had it, sometimes out of mercy and compassion. One Kshirod Prasad, Vidya Vihar Pandit. So one day he went to Brahmanandaji Maharaj. He expressed, his disappointment that he could not see Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Though he was a contemporary to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, one day he planned to go to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He was on his way to Dakshineshwar. So he had gone up to Alam Bazar in Calcutta. Then suddenly he remembered somebody had said to him that Sri Ramakrishna had the power to read others' minds. So he developed the fear that if I go to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he might read my mind, and all the negative thoughts, the bad thoughts that I have in my mind, he might detect. For fear of that, after going Alam Bazar, he came back. He did not go to Dakshineshwar. So he was now actually, master is no more, he has passed away. Now he is lamenting this with Brahmanandaji Maharaj. Had I gone on that day, proceeded to Dakshineshwar, I could have seen Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And actually that had been a great spiritual merit for me, but I missed the opportunity, I missed the chance. He was lamenting, and he started weeping bitterly. He bent his head down. And Brahmanandaji Maharaj said that, no, you have gone up to Alam Bazar thinking about Sri Ramakrishna. It is as good as you have visited Sri Ramakrishna, don't worry. But that did not console him. But he was very much crestfallen and dejected. And he bent his head down and weeping. Then Brahmanandaji Maharaj, after some time, he lifted his head up, and then he saw in Brahmanandaji Maharaj's place Sri Ramakrishna himself. These are some of the miracles he had performed, Brahmanandaji Maharaj. Rarely, because out of compassion for that human being, he performed. Okay, when you perform miracles out of compassion to console somebody, it's okay for that particular period only. Otherwise, it should not be done. Vivekananda also performed miracles rarely and cautiously and judiciously. They would exercise greatest discretion while using these psychic powers. Another time, one monk was there. He was very quarrelsome. Okay, he would keep picking up quarrels with everybody, very bellicose. So he would pick up quarrels with even Premanandaji Maharaj also. With brother monks, he would pick up quarrels, and Premanandaji, who was the manager of the Belur Math, with him also he would pick up quarrels. So unable to bear this monk, so Premanandaji brought him to Brahmanandaji Maharaj. Maharaj, he picks up quarrels with everybody. He doesn't get adjusted with anybody, doesn't get along with anybody. So please bless him with your hand by putting your hand on his head. So Premanandaji thought actually it would change his samskara, it would change his tendency, because he was such a towering spiritual soul. Brahmanandaji had the power to transform the character of an individual just by touching or by looking at it. So Brahmanandaji said, today my hand is not good, I wanted to touch him, but you yourself put your hand on him. You yourself touch it. But Premanandaji knew that actually he had not the power, and Brahmanandaji's spiritual strength he knew. He insisted, Maharaj, please. So instead of waiting for further argument or further comment by Brahmanandaji Maharaj, he just pushed the monk down and put his head on his feet. Then Brahmanandaji blessed him by putting his hand on his head. So then immediately he pushed him aside, and Premanandaji also put his head down and touched his feet and had the blessings of Brahmanandaji. Then he shouted at all other monks who were around, please come and have the blessings of Maharaj. So everybody started coming, all brahmacharis and sannyasins, whoever was nearby, all came and took the blessings of Maharaj. He went on touching everybody. They're like Kalpataru, Sri Ramakrishna, how he did on Kalpataru day, Brahmanandaji did on that day. He touched everybody's head and blessed all of them. And then one doctor was there, devotee doctor. He was there around, but actually he was taking his bath when this was going on. After bath actually he came. By then Maharaj got up from his seat. And then Premanandaji Maharaj asked, Maharaj actually came a little late, please bless him also, this devotee doctor also. Then Brahmanandaji Maharaj said, the power that has come actually has gone, has left me. So now I am helpless. So he was overpowered with spiritual emotion, and all the people who were around him at that day were very fortunate to receive his blessing. That much of capacity he had, like Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, would bless the people. A towering giant of spirituality. Vivekananda himself had respected Brahmanandaji, and he said actually he is more spiritual than me. So it is very important that we don't exercise these psychic powers as spiritual sadhakas. Some of you also might develop these spiritual powers, but you should never exercise them, and you should exercise them with great restraint. Once Sri Ramakrishna had given one mantra to Brahmanandaji and told him not to use that mantra. What is that mantra? By repeating that mantra, whoever you want, they will come to you if you really want. You chant the mantra for a certain number of times and then have a wish that so and so should come to me. That individual will come to you. It's a psychic power. He had given the mantra, particular mantra, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, but he told him actually, don't use this. And Brahmanandaji felt tempted to use that mantra. He had chanted it required number of times. What he wanted, there was a king actually, probably the king of Gwalior. He was visiting Calcutta. He should come to Belur Math and, okay, he should come to Belur Math. He was visiting Calcutta. So visiting Belur Math was not in his plan. So he just chanted the mantra. And afterwards, then there was an inquiry from the side of the king that his PA came and he wanted to find out the right and appropriate time to visit Belur Math. So in his itinerary, it was not there to visit Belur Math. A thought came to him to visit Belur Math after coming to Calcutta. That thought came because he had repeated this mantra. You can have that kind of psychic power, but immediately he remembered the word that Sri Ramakrishna said, that is warning and caution, don't exercise it. Whole of the Mahabharata happened because Kunti could not resist her temptation to check the mantra that he had got from Durvasa Maharshi. You know how? You know, right? Durvasa Maharshi, satisfied with her service, as she was in teens, some 14-15 years she was, had given the mantra. This mantra, by repeating this mantra, you can have a child through any of these divinities. You can become mother. And he left Durvasa Maharshi. Before marriage, she felt like testing the power of the mantra. And then she prayed to the sun god. Sun god came down, appeared before her, and made her mother. Karna was born. So before marriage, the child was born. So how to face the society? Though the sun god said that because of this actually, your Pativratya will not get affected, but don't worry about this. But still, for fear of society, she abandoned the child. She put the child in a casket, in a box, and put in the water. And that Karna grew up, with a charioteer, always actually burning within actually. So many insults were heaped on him. The Sutaputra, but he was a Kshatriya by blood, born to a queen. What happened ultimately? Relying on Karna's strength only, Duryodhana had gone for the war. The root cause who is for Mahabharata war? Kunti. Her inability to resist the temptation, she wanted to touch the mantra. You just see the consequence, where it led to ultimately. Karna actually went and grew up with a different person altogether. Relying on Karna's strength actually Duryodhana. Otherwise the Mahabharata war would not have happened. So we think actually we'll be able to handle the mind. We'll be able to use the psychic powers with discretion. It's not easy. Unless you are a realized soul, nobody else will be able to use the psychic powers to their advantage. Any ordinary spiritual sadhaka will be carried away by the temptation and he will ruin his spiritual life and once for all. And it will not be easy actually to undo the damage that he would cause to himself. Immediately it would not happen. It would happen after many births and many lifetimes with the grace of another spiritually illumined soul. And for that reason, better actually you should not become conscious. That's why in Ramakrishna Sangha, in Ramakrishna Vivekananda literature, it is again and again told that. Sri Ramakrishna offers the psychic powers to Vivekananda. Vivekananda asks actually, will it help me to realize God? No. Then I don't need, Vivekananda said. Sri Ramakrishna was very happy. He was so full choice. My disciple, I have put the highest temptation before my disciple, but he could withstand that temptation also. So he congratulated Swamiji on that day. He was so happy, so joyous. Highest temptation, psychic powers. What would happen if I get these powers? You can become the smaller than the smallest and the bigger than the biggest. You can do anything, right? Like Hanuman actually, he made himself such a giant actually. He expanded his body for Ramakarya he did it, not for his own individual self. So he did not disturb anybody thereby. Very good action, Hanuman. But we read it as a fiction, but it's not a fiction. We have all the Ashtasiddhis, Anima, Garima. So he expanded his body and then leapt across the sea. How it would be possible? So all these psychic powers you would get, those who have attained to Samadhi, but they would not exercise, should not be exercised. And Sri Ramakrishna gives this to Vivekananda, offers this. All the psychic powers I have got, Divine Mother has given these psychic powers to me. If you want, I will transfer all these psychic powers to you. But then Vivekananda said, I don't want them if they don't help me to realize God. So it's very important that we don't get tempted with these psychic powers, and whenever you engage yourself in sadhana, that should not be your objective. What power I will get by doing this sadhana, by doing this mantra? You should be loving. That should only for Loka Kalyana. Everybody should live happily and should live in peace. And you must grow in character, in love and selflessness. That is the highest objective of spirituality. If you become totally selfless and all loving, then you have attained the summum bonum of spirituality. You identify yourself with all that lives. Okay, the suffering of others becomes yours. And then actually you have really attained to spiritual illumination and not before. Don't get carried away by the psychic powers that would come by repeating mantra for a few lakh times, a few thousands of times.